tumbleweeds, and thank you so much for stopping by and supporting the channel. Well, it's that time of year. Pumpkins and jack-o'-lanterns take the stage all over the place. Some of my greatest memories growing up were all about the fall and Halloween. Carving those pumpkins, pulling out all that slimy stuff out of there, the innards, saving the seeds. Some of the seeds we would bake with a little salt and have a nice little pumpkin seed snack. Other seeds we would save to grow our own pumpkins. And of course, the Halloween decorations, picking our Halloween costumes, going to the local carnivals. It was so much fun. Some great memories there. Did you know that Texas has its very own special pumpkin patch? It sure does. Located in Floydada, Texas, Floydada is known as the pumpkin capital of the USA. It all started when a local farmer named Slim Robertson started growing pumpkins each year, and he would sell them on the roadside. Since then, it has taken off in the community and the local areas. They even celebrate Pumpkin Days each year, which is a family fun time for all to enjoy. The Pumpkin Man's legacy will go on forever in this community and in the state. Pumpkin Days is the second Saturday in October. Some of the things that you can enjoy there is the pumpkin decorating contest, the chili cook-off, a seed spitting contest, pumpkin bowling, and guessing how much a giant pumpkin weighs. Those are just to name a few, but there are other things that you can enjoy. For me, I would for sure participate in all those events right there. That just sounds like a great time. I actually won a pumpkin decorating contest one time, and this was when I was teaching school in Amarillo, and we had a pumpkin decorating contest. In my pumpkin patch that year, all I had were green pumpkins. Some of them were so small, they just, they were more like gourds, but these were from actual pumpkin seeds, from a big pumpkin that I had from a couple years before I planted the seeds. But for some reason, they came out green. I waited and waited. They were as ripe as they were going to get, so it wasn't like I was waiting for them to turn orange or something. They were just green. Well, I had one that was relatively big, maybe like a medium-sized one, nice and round. And I entered the pumpkin carving decorating contest, and my pumpkin was Yoda. Since it was green, I carved him to look like Star Wars' Yoda. Some pumpkins there were painted, others were carved. Mine was carved. I had a little candle in there, but it looked like Yoda. And when it was time to judge, the students got to go along and, write down the number of the pumpkin they really liked, and they went through and there was voting, and of course the staff voted. Well, it turned out that I won, and I was so excited that I had won the pumpkin decorating contest. Well, a couple things that I learned about growing pumpkins. When we were kids, we decided to plant some of the seeds that we had taken out of the pumpkins that we carved. And we had a designated area, and sure enough, the pumpkins grew. We had wonderful pumpkin vine. But the thing is, we didn't rotate or turn the pumpkins. So on one side, they were flat. It was kind of a strange thing, and so it was a learning situation for us. But as kids, we were excited. We really liked growing the pumpkins. We had to keep our dogs out of there from tearing things up. They were always wanting to find out what was going on. But once we, had it set up to where they wouldn't get in there, the pumpkins took off. Then the next year and the next year, when the pumpkins were growing, we would turn them and rotate them, and then we didn't have any issues anymore with them being flat on one side. Now, one thing is, this was in Lubbock, Texas, and it was, really dry and windy, so we had to make sure that we laid the water hose in there, and we gave them a good soaking, and of course, if we did get rain, that was a big help also. But something very interesting happened. As I got older and eventually moved to Amarillo to become a teacher, I wanted to grow pumpkins at my house in my little pumpkin patch. So the first year, I planted the seeds and, I made sure to rotate the pumpkins. But I got this funny blight or like a fungus on the vine leaves. and it was driving me crazy, and I couldn't get rid of them, and it stunted the pumpkins. They didn't come out right. I had pumpkins, you could tell they were sickly, and things weren't going as they should. So the next year, the same thing happened. And I noticed that the blight was starting to spread into an area where I had some wildflowers. I had some what they call tick seeds, and then I had some Indian blankets and some black-eyed Susans in there. And even those leaves are starting to get this blight. So I went down to the local garden store and nursery center, and I got a product to spray on there, and it killed the blight or took care of the blight in some of the areas, but that stuff can spread really quickly. And I even tried trimming or cutting those leaves off to stop the spread, but nothing was really working. The spray did help, but it was just too late. So the next year, going into the season where I had planted my seeds, I had my spray, I was ready, and I did like a pre-coating to prevent it from happening, and that helped a bit. But sure enough, the blight popped up in different spots, and I just was frustrated and furious that this was happening. My pumpkins were better, but you could tell they were still being affected by this blight. So one day I was sitting on the back porch and I was working on a fishing rod and reel, and my sprinkler system turned on and was going, and I noticed that where it was spraying was that area and some of the other areas in the yard there, and I thought, I wonder if that has something to do with it. So then it turned out that the irrigation system and the city water was causing the irritation of the blight as it was soaking the leaves, and it was causing the problem. So what I did is I would put the water hose at the base of the vine and soak that area, and I also had a rainwater catch system, and I would use that to water it. And the blight popped up in 2 little spots, but it really wasn't anything like it had been before. And I had turned off the sprinkler system zones in the areas where the pumpkin patch was, and over in a couple other spots. I mean, the other, where the grass was, I let it continue to, to go through its cycle. But my pumpkins turned out wonderful. They were big, they were full, and just something about how the irrigation was getting on the leaves there, it was just causing the problem. So then I think back to when I was growing up in Lubbock, we really didn't have to worry so much about the blight. Maybe a couple times, but it wasn't anything big. And we always laid the hose in there, and we would just let it run at the base. And of course, the water system there was a little bit different and how they treated, I guess. But once I did that in Amarillo and I got that sorted out, I never really had any issues. I may have just like one little spot where it would come up and I would spray, or I would, snip that leaf off. But I didn't have anything like I did the years before where it was just everywhere. So that's something I learned from the pumpkin patch. So you might keep that in mind as you're working with yours, and if you decide to grow pumpkins, it's just you'll avoid a huge mess there of dealing with the blight. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. I just want to say thank you for coming down our dusty trail to visit our channel. Have a happy Halloween and a great fall. And until next time, I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye.